Okay, so why does everything feel meaningless? Well, let's begin, I guess, as always, by defining the question that we're dealing with. Meaningless, I think we can all understand what it means definitionally by almost thinking of that feeling in particular. We know we've all felt it. Some of us might be feeling it right now. And it's the key to this lecture. So we'll get on to that. But of course, why does everything is particularly referring to life in general? Because the question's obviously a little bit wrong in its assumption, because not everything will feel meaningless. So this is actually quite an interesting part of the question, which is that it's being asked from a position such that everything does feel meaningless. And so we've got to almost put ourselves in that position of thinking, how would you get yourself in the position to make everything feel meaningless? That's probably a good place to begin. And so what place is that? Well, I think it's a place where when you get up in the morning, you don't genuinely look forward to anything else. Or when you're even doing a particular action in life, you are having no feeling of fulfillment or joy or any positive emotion associated with the action that is being done. That's what I think it truly means for it to feel meaningless. And so it's really then a question of how could we possibly make it so that we actually have positive emotion during an action that we are doing. Now, this is interesting though, because as we know, if we wanted to just have pure positive emotion, let's say in the moment, you could probably just, do some crazy drugs, let's say. There are drugs out there which will physically go into the biology of our brain and spike up the dopamine levels, if you do have any dopamine levels to begin with, and you will feel pretty good. You'll feel that positive emotion. So it's not exactly just positive emotion. I guess that's what's also implicit in the question, is that when it says, why does everything feel meaningless? Does it just mean momentarily? No. I think implicit in the question is the idea that everything feels meaningless all the time. So I think that's a better question. Why does everything feel meaningless all the time? Because that fixes the issue of doing cocaine. You won't feel meaning, but if we're talking about positive emotion, which I think is somewhat what the question's about, maybe it's the type of positive emotion, but if you do cocaine, you're not solving the issue at hand. You might feel pretty good in the moment, but it will not make everything feel more meaningful. In fact, it will make it worse, which is why hedonism is not the way to go. And so if we define that, this is always something which is useful to do in life, if you know where you don't want to go, which in this case is hedonism. Hedonism, of course, is the pursuit of something that will give you short-term pleasure. Then we know not to do that. And so what would be the opposite of that, the exact opposite? Well, maybe not the exact opposite, but you get what my gist is. It would be pursuing something which does not give you immediate pleasure in the short term. Or in other words, something that would give you pleasure in the long term. And that is something I think is worth exploring. What does it actually mean to have something in the long term that will give you pleasure? Because, and this is so beautiful. It's not that you're like getting a quick hit, but for future you. It's more like you are getting things that are what I would call meaningful. Right? If you think about it, if you are building something for the future, implicit within that, it means you've got a goal that you're striving towards for the future. And it's not just future you, it's also future everyone. Because a better you is going to have a better impact on everyone around you, and in fact the world, as Jung said. So if you have a goal which is just something to aim for, that is medium to long term, then that means you are going to have a meaning in what you do. The meaning would be that you are trying to get closer and closer towards that goal. And so could that possibly produce the scenario and the feeling that what we call meaning actually comes up in? Maybe. At the very least, you'll know what you're doing. And again, it's not to say that what you do now is not a good enough action. It's more to say that you're actively deciding on a goal which gives you purpose to step forward in or step towards. It's like climbing a mountain. If you're at the bottom and, you've decided, and that's probably, well, not probably, that's definitely a key thing. You voluntarily decide, I would like to get to the top of the mountain. It doesn't mean that immediately you're just going to teleport up there and get the immediate dopamine kick of being on the top of the mountain. That's basically equivalent to cocaine, right? You will get a dopamine kick because you're at the top of the mountain. But, as is the cliche, the journey is what matters. The journey is where meaning is found. And that is the journey of climbing the mountain. And what is climbing the mountain? Well, it's setting the aim voluntarily. It is saying, I want to reach the top of this mountain. You've actually decided that for yourself voluntarily. And you are going to voluntarily, from that point, take what some may call as suffering. You might voluntarily suffer by climbing the mountain. I mean, I've climbed very, very small mountains, and it's quite hard for me at the very least, right? I am in pain during that climb. And yet, each step that I take, I'm moving closer and closer towards the goal. And again, it's like that cliche again. I don't really want to overvalue the particular reaching of the summit, because I wouldn't want to snap my fingers and be there immediately, because I don't think that that is where meaning comes from in our biology. I think that's where the dopamine spike comes from. But I think the meaning comes from voluntarily, quote unquote, suffering, but in a manner which you are moving towards a goal. And we're built for that. We're not built to, suffer needlessly. We're also not built to aim at things which are useless. That's why it's so crucial to get the aim right. That's going back to the question, why does everything feel meaningless? It's not that everything feels meaningless. It's just that everything that you have tried felt meaningless to you. which means that it had no meaning to you. Of course, that's why it felt meaningless. If you were going along that journey of trying to achieve whatever goal it might have been, that thing, it of course did not have true meaning to you for whatever reason it was. And so you have to find that thing which will allow you to voluntarily suffer for it. It is going to be something that you have to voluntarily choose. Yes, I want to get to that thing. You have to think through it. How can you think through it? Well, you can think, who do I admire? What do they do? Would I like to do what they do? Or you could just know something already, right now off the top of your head, something that you want to do with your life. You can just ask yourself some back and forth questions. Would I like to be a healthy person or a not healthy person? Then whichever one of those you choose, go and do that. Would I like to be dedicated to some type of work or not dedicated to some type of work? Decide out of those options. There's a million questions that you can ask that will help you build up the person that you want to become. And so look, I'm not saying that these immediate things are going to strip the emotion of meaningless away or meaninglessness, because it isn't a snap of the fingers thing, as hopefully we've put across in this lecture. But it is something that you can solve. And it comes with a few actionable things. You can, number one, ask yourself, what things do you do, let's say, every day, if we just take it on that time scale? What particular activities do you do that maybe don't help build to something in the future? And then maybe you can start looking at those. And if you want to change them, that might help. And then on top of that, you can ask not only what you can stop, but what could you possibly add into your day that would help you build to something you want in the future voluntarily. And if you do those two things, at the very least, you will have a better idea of where you don't want to go, and more importantly, where you do want to go.